In this lesson titled Vlookup Exact, we're in Workbook Lesson 10, If Functions and Vlookup, and we're on Worksheet Vlookup Exact. Vlookup Exact is somewhat similar to Vlookup Approximate, only we're doing a one-for-one matching on the information we're looking for. Let me give you an example. Over here we have a long list of products, and we need to know what season each of these products is in. In other words, if it's a snowboard, is it winter, spring, or fall? Or if it's a bike, we need to know if it's winter, spring, or fall. So to have Excel automatically fill out this kind of exact one-to-one match, we can use Vlookup. I'm going to zoom in to 150%. I'll come down to my zoom bar and I'll hit that 5 times until I'm at 150. And I'm going to scroll all the way up. Now I'm also going to open up my E column. I don't need to do this, but I'm just doing it to make this more clear. So let's just start by creating this formula. It starts with equals, of course, and Vlookup. We'll give it a parentheses to get it started. And it's asking for our lookup value. Well, we're looking up our product, so I'm going to look up snowboard and hit comma, and our emphasis changes to table array. Well, here's our table array, so I can highlight that. Now, I know I don't want this table array to ever change. I want to keep it absolute. So to make this address absolute, I'm going to hit F4 on my keyboard. And you'll see my table array now has dollar signs in front of it. I'm going to hit a comma and change our emphasis now to column index number. It's asking what column number has the answers. Well, the second column has the answers. So I'm not going to say I for column I. I'm going to say 2 because it's the second column. That's what it's requiring. And another comma. And now it's asking true or false. Is there something between winter and fall? No, there's not. This is an exact lookup, so I want false. So I double click right on the word false and it'll put that in for me. And now I need a final parentheses, or I can just hit enter to accept. So it automatically looked up for us winter because this is a snowboard. So I'm just going to use our little shortcut here to double click on our autofill handle, and it will fill it all the way down, and we see it accurately looked up each one of these. So this is a great example of Vlookup exact match. But that is a lot of variables to put in, and sometimes it can be a little confusing what information goes where. So I'm going to show you a little tool that you can use for any formula, especially those that are a little complicated like Vlookup. So I'm going to delete all of these. I'm going to use Control Arrow to go to the bottom, but if I add Shift, Control Shift down, it goes to the bottom but also selects everything. So everything's selected. I can hit delete on my keyboard. So I got rid of all that. I'm going to put this Vlookup function in again, but I'm going to do it with some assistance. I'm going to come over here, hover for a minute. It says Insert Function. I'm going to click on that. And I get an Insert Function dialog box asking me, well, what function are you interested in? Well, it has some selections down here you might want, but I don't see mine. I'm going to say Vlookup. I could have just done a partial name or something, but I knew the whole one. I'm going to say Go, and it says, well, the recommended ones are Vlookup. Sure enough. I'm going to double click that. And now here is a function arguments dialog box that lets me put in each bit of information in its own section. This is quite useful because it also gives me a complete description down below, and it'll tell me what the results of my formula is once the information is in. So let's try that here. So it's saying look up value. What's the value I'm looking up? Well, the product. I'm looking up the product. So it says, oh, well, that's snowboard. Sure enough. Very good. I'm going to come down here to my table array. There's my table array. And I also want to hit F4 to make that an absolute reference. Then I click over here, column index. Well, I can't remember what that is, so here's a description of the column index. I say, oh, well then I want number 2. Put number 2 in there. And now down here, range lookup. And this is logical. And you have to kind of read this. It's a little tricky, but basically it's saying that you want to type in false if you want an exact lookup. So I actually have to type in false here. And it's saying false. Now look down here, formula result. It's already telling me what the answer is going to be. I can say OK, and the formula's been entered in for me. I can double click on my autofill handle to fill it out, and it's all filled in. So there's another example using our insert function dialog box, and you can use that on any function to help you fill out the information correctly.